This is a class on the Mishmeres Chaim on the subject of the counting of the Omer, the 49 days between Pesach and Shavuos. The Gemara Kesubos 72a states that a woman has a commandment to count her days of impurity. The Gemara says, D'Amar Rabbi Chanina bar Kahana Amar Shmuel. Where do we know that a woman has to count to her impurity? Shnei Amar, like it says, V'safra la shivas yamim, she shall count for 7 days. La atzmo, it says she should count, her to herself. So from there we see that a woman has a commandment from the Torah to count 7 days. Tosfos has a difficulty with this. He says, why is it that we don't say a blessing if it's really true that a woman has a commandment to bless? So she should also make the blessing just like she has to bless on the 49 days of the Omer. Also there's a commandment for a man to bless. So if there's a commandment in both places, why doesn't she bless on the counting of her impurity? The answer that Tosfos gives is that there's only a blessing where there's going to be continuity, seder, which means order. Just like the 49 years of the Yovel, or the 49 days of the Omer. By the Yovel, we count 49 years, and the 50th year is the Yovel. Each time the Beis Din has to say a blessing when they count for that year. Also, by the Omer, we count 49 days between Pesach and Shavuos, and each day we have to make a blessing. But that's because there's continuity. But by the counting of impurity by a woman, and she's counting her clean days, she may see blood in the middle, and therefore she's going to nullify the entire counting. Therefore, we do not make a blessing on such a counting. That is Tosfos' answer. Comes along the Mishmeres Chaim, and he has now a difficulty on Tosfos' answer. He says Tosfos' answer is difficult, according to the Rishonim, who hold that if you forget a day, you can no longer make a blessing. Those Rishonim hold that you have to have tamimus. You have to have the full counting of 49 days in order to continue blessing. And what might happen in this case is maybe one will miss a day and consequently nullify the counting. According to Tosfos' reasoning that you have to have continuity, we should not make a blessing on the Sfiras HaOmer, the 49 days, just like we do not make a blessing by a woman's impurity. Because maybe the person is going to forget one day and he won't be able to continue to count. So Tosfos' reasoning doesn't make any sense as to why we don't make a blessing, because it's true also by the Omer, where we do make a blessing. The answer that the Mishmeres Chaim gives for his difficulty on Tosfos' answer is that missing a day by the Omer is not similar to missing a day by impurity. By impurity, missing a day means that all the previous days were not a mitzvah at all, and that's why the rabbis did not agree that there should be a blessing. In other words, if she sees blood in the middle, everything that happened before is completely nullified. But by the Omer, missing a day just means that he cannot bless on the future days, simply because they're not being added to a complete counting. But that doesn't mean that all the previous days were not a mitzvah fitting for a blessing. And that's why the rabbis decreed that you make a blessing, even though you may not be able to bless in the future. So the lack of continuity by impurity, which completely nullifies the thing, is not the same thing as the lack of continuity by the Omer, where the previous days still stand.